Assalamu alaikum. Today I decided to film part 1 of my journey with Islam in English because it was a highly requested video. So if you're interested, please keep watching. And I'll go back from the very beginning, what happened and what got me to be interested in Islam. So firstly, I was born into Islam. I am a born Muslim. However, growing up in my childhood, Islam was kind of a matter of your personal connection with God. We were not forced into religion. It was a matter of you trying to get closer to God on your own terms. And so praying and fasting and everything like that was a bond between you and Allah, or you and God. And that was kind of the ideology that I had growing up, that I don't really need religion. And it was because everything was pretty slick growing up. I had good grades, I had friends, I had a good environment. I basically felt like I did not need to go to a religion and say I need this or that. I had a very easy childhood, and so life was going the way I had wanted it to go. So I never felt like I needed to actually sit there and talk to God, telling him that I need something. And that was the way I grew up, in that mindset. I grew up with two very feminist parents. And so my parents always gave us that idea that you are in charge of your happiness, you are in charge of your independence, you are basically in charge of your life, which of course I'm very grateful for because it got me where I am today. Until I was like growing up, the age of 10, 11, 12, when you start having those big questions like, why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I doing here? Why were we created? All of those like million-dollar questions that normally we don't have answers to. But that really never sunk in with me. I stayed like that for a couple of years, just living my life the way I wanted to. And then when I got into my teenage years, again, I was living my life in the way that society told me would make me happy. I was wearing the stuff that society told me will make me happy and attractive and wanted. And I was also living my life from party to party. My parents were open-minded parents, and so when it comes to basic teenage stuff that you want to experience, and again, I'm grateful for that because it got me to feel like I've already tried that thing and it never gave me the fulfillment that I needed. But anyways, back to the story. After that phase, when I was a teenager, things started to go not in the way that I initially planned for, and so I started losing my closest people to my heart back then. I started not being the person that I thought I would always be in my own terms. And again, I started running after temporary happiness one day after the other, from party to party, doing everything really that was said will bring me happiness. And I always felt that very big void. I always felt like something was missing. And I always felt like, yeah, I'm happy, I'm doing this, but then I go back home and I'm in tears, and I don't really know why I'm in tears. I don't really know what the issue is. I am doing everything that was said will bring me happiness, but I'm still feeling that void. And so at the age of like 15, 16, 17, when I started losing people and life started really showing up basically, I started feeling that huge feeling of wanting something more. But I never really thought it would be religion, because in my head, the religious people were something and I was something else. I never wanted to be a part of that. To me, they were like super extreme, and I never really was interested in that growing up anyways. And so I was just running after one thing after the other, whether it's traveling abroad, being an independent woman, having a job at a very young age, which isn't the norm in the Middle East, just doing a lot of things that are mostly like materialistic stuff, or mostly things related to this lifetime, to try to fill that void that I was feeling. But to my surprise, it never worked. Yeah, it would bring me temporary satisfaction, but it never really worked. And in that age, when I was like 17, I decided at that time that I'm just gonna do everything temporarily and I don't care about eternal happiness. And I just started saying, I will never feel content, I will never feel okay in this lifetime, and that's okay. I'm just gonna rely on temporary happiness day after day after day, and just trying to do the next best thing, which has become my lifestyle. And I got into ushering, where they expect you to look a certain way. I got into a couple of things that only relied on my outer beauty, as well as temporary happiness and temporary satisfaction. And then at the age of 17, specifically in November, my friend, and I always say that, you know, without her I probably wouldn't have went. She had told me, come to this class, come to this religion class. And I was like, not my thing. You can go and then we can meet later. And again, this friend of mine was actually not religious at the time or anything. She was just like me. In fact, we would do stuff together or do this and that. And so it was so ironic to me that she was all of a sudden interested in that new lifestyle. And she kept on telling me, come with me, let's just try it out. We're not gonna lose anything. And I kept on saying, no, I have a party, no, I have to do this event, that event, and I kept on running away. I've realized that most of my life was consistently running away from that big thing inside of me that's telling me, no, you are not happy, stop kidding yourself, you know it, there's something that's missing. Finally, I caved in and I told her, I am gonna go with you to that class. But mind you, I did not go to that religion class because I wanted to become religious. No, that was like the last thing in my head. I went to that class because I was very curious. What are these people saying? What do they have that we don't have? What are they talking about? What is that fuss about, basically? And so I went to the class just like me. And if for a lot of people that don't know me, I went to the class looking the way I look every day, in other words. And I don't want to get into much details on how I used to dress, but you can imagine I'm not gonna get into a lot of details on that. And I went and I said, if they really care about educating people on this religion, they won't really care what I look like. I'm going to just find out a couple of stuff and go home. I'm probably never gonna go again. And that was the mindset back then. And I went to the class and I started listening to the stuff that they were saying, not really thinking too much about it, until the teacher, and again, right now, she always reminds me that I was so utterly amazed by what she was saying, as if it was rocket science. But because at the time my relationship with Islam was, yeah, I used to fast in Ramadan, also in Eid, our celebration or our holiday, I would only care about, you know, that I have full glam on, that I'm looking so good, and that I'm ready to eat and have breakfast with my friends. And I would literally go to the mosque and just pray the Eid prayer and then take everything off and go on with my life. That was my relationship with Islam. It was a very kind of like I won't say superficial, because it got me where I am here today, alhamdulillah, but I'm gonna say it wasn't like I never thought too much about it, basically. And so the thing that really struck me in that lesson is that I realized that the teacher was not talking about heaven and hell and you're going to hell because you're not doing that or anything like that. She was actually talking about happiness. And what really struck me is that that was exactly the way I was thinking for a couple of years. What am I doing here? Why am I not happy, even though I'm doing everything that society told me will bring me happiness? Until she was talking directly from the Quran. And again, that really amazed me, because I had not read the Quran in depth, at least fully. I did not understand the Arabic behind the Quran. Even though Arabic is my first language, the Arabic in the Quran is a little bit different. It's kind of like divine Arabic. You actually need to study it in order for you to be able to grasp the context behind what Allah is trying to say. And so when she started taking sources from the Quran, I started feeling like, wow, this is an answer to one of my very big questions, right? She first was saying that if you are looking for eternal happiness in this lifetime, you are looking at the wrong address. And I was so amazed, because I was like, no, I was brought up under the ideology that you are in charge of your own happiness and that you can make your own heaven in this lifetime. And so she was saying, no, that does not happen. This lifetime is a test, basically, and depending on if you are doing good or bad, that's how the afterlife, you're gonna be kind of like judged on whether you're gonna go this way or that way, basically. And that was such a foreign idea, because to me I thought that it's all up to you. And she took aid of the Quran by saying, the verse in chapter 29, verse 64. And this worldly life is not but diversion and amusement, and indeed the home of the hereafter, that is the eternal life, if only they knew. And when she said if only they knew, I was like struck, because I was like, is God talking to me? But at that point I was like, just brush it off, Yusra. It's just a coincidence. It's probably not directed to you. She's just taking aid of the Quran to show evidence of what she's talking about, basically. So I really brushed it off and I didn't think twice about it. Until I was like sitting there and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna give her another chance and let's see what's gonna happen. And she was talking about how essentially the reason why people stray away from religion, or people don't want to get involved with religion, is because of their ego and all of that fun stuff, because it's so hard for people to understand that you're living in this lifetime not only on your own terms. No, you need to follow a curriculum, just like you go to college and you follow a curriculum to be able to pass. It's the same ideology in this lifetime. And that to me again was such a foreign idea, because I never thought about it. I always had a very, very high ego for everyone that knows me. Everything had to go my way or the highway, basically. And I was in charge of my life. I took my own decisions and stuff like that at a very young age. And so for a religion to tell me, do this or do that, that was a very heavy idea for me. It was something that did not make sense to me. I was like, I know what I need to do for myself. I don't need religion or God or anything to tell me what I need to do, really. I need to live life in my own terms. Again, that same idea. And so she was talking about how your ego is the biggest thing that actually gets you to stray away from religion. And if only you submit and give it a chance, you will see that no, it's not about right or wrong. It's more about how you can implement specific rulings or specific regulations so that your life would be better. And to me, that made kind of sense in only one aspect, which is the fact that I realized that the partying and living life to the fullest and taking care of that your hair is on fleek and your eyebrows and your makeup and everything, to me that idea started becoming very exhausting, started weighing so heavy on me. I started feeling like I'm only judged depending on my looks, and that's how I get the job and stuff like that. And it started becoming something that was very exhausting. And that's why when she said that if only you submit and you just give it a chance, you'll see the positive effect it has on your life, I started really understanding that. And then I was like, yeah, but this is her opinion. But again, to my amusement, she took aid of the Quran again by saying, "O man, what has made you careless concerning your Lord, the most generous?" And that was in chapter 82, verse 6. And it meant so much to me, because the word in Arabic is gharraka, and it's translated as careless, but it means so much more. Gharraka comes from ghurur, when you have a very high ego to the extent that you even like neglect God and neglect how his teachings make you a better person, just because you want to live life in your own terms, which is usually only bringing you heartache and temporary happiness and anything but fulfillment. And so that really struck me, and I sat there, I was in awe. Like my face, she tells me up until this moment, you were so amused, as if I was saying something that was so foreign. But it was because it was so foreign to me. I never really understood this book. I never really read it to the fullest in its context to understand that God is giving us the answers, but are we really looking for it? That's the whole point. And it meant so much to me, and I kept on just thinking about that so hard. But again, it wasn't enough for me to change. I never even went to these religion classes with the intention of changing. But what I felt, the very strong thing that I felt when I went home that day, is that I'm so confused. How have I spent 18 years or 17 years, actually 18 years of my life away from something that has a lot of answers to my big questions that I never found answers to, basically? And so I started saying, well, okay, I know I don't want to be religious. I know I do not want to be from those people or among those people. But what I do know is that this place has answers to my questions that I've been battling with for years. So I'm just gonna keep going because I want my questions to be answered. And then once my questions are answered, I'm just gonna live my life the way I'm living it, partying hard, caring about, you know, everything else but religion, basically. And this is gonna be my life. And that was my intention then. So I started going week after week after week. And every week, I'm honestly saying this out of pure intention, every week I would find more answers to my questions, and that kept me going, that kept me coming. But I never wanted to change. Change was such a very big thing for me. I was never told that I had to change growing up. I was just me, and that was enough. And so I never really wanted to change. So even though I was going week after week after week for a month, that was not enough for me to change. And that's basically the point of this part of the video, which is to tell you that a lot of people think that when you go to one religious class or when you learn the truth, that your heart instantly submits to God and that you're done and you're religious and all that fun stuff. But I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. In fact, change is hard. It is hard, but it's definitely doable. You submitting and going into habits and trying to get into stuff that you've never grown up with or you've never really practiced them, it is not as easy as people think. Change takes time and you need to trust in your process so that you would get a good result. So I'm actually gonna end this video here. I started going week after week after week. Yes, every week I would get more answers to my questions. Yes, every week I would feel a connection that was unexplainable. I was not able to explain it to anyone. However, I never really had the intention of changing. I felt like I was not capable of putting in the work, because Islam is work. Any religion really is work. If it's not work, then there's something that's missing. You need to put in the work, and you don't put in the work necessarily to prove to God that you love him, but that's how you build the connection with God. That's how you build the connection with religion, is by putting in the work like you do for anything else. So I'll stop the video here. If you're interested in part 2, I'm going to be talking about the fun stuff, where the change happened, the turning point for me, where I started actually putting in the work. So if you're interested, please mention that in the comments. If you have any suggestions or recommendations, I am all ears. Please let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like it and share it. Again, my intention is for this video to go to as many people as it can, to just show people that, yeah, change is hard, but it's doable. And if you trust in your process, you will get the result that you want. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and have a blessed day.